Today we're going to reflect on SD 47.4, the Khandha Silavanta Sutta. The sutta is originally entitled Silavanta Sutta, which there are other similar namesakes. So we have added the prefix Khandha in front. Khandha means aggregates, and this is from the chapter of Aggregates, Khandha Vagga of the Samyutta Nikaya. So Khandha Silavanta Sutta translates as the Aggregates Discourse on the Morally Virtuous, as 22.122. The theme here is reflecting on the aggregates leads to liberation. Here we have two great monks talking to each other. This Sariputta, the wisest of the monks, and Mahakotita. Mahakotita, being the junior monk, questions Sariputta, who is foremost in wisdom. Mahakotita is said to be foremost among the monks in terms of the analytic skills. So here, the analytic skills basically the skill in understanding conditionality, causes and effect, and also sometimes you can translate the Dhamma and the meaning, if you like. And then the third quality is that of command of language, skill in language, the use of language. And the fourth quality is that of wit. So in other words, whatever teaching is presented in a very interesting way, in a very captivating way. Right? So basically, these are the special qualities of a really good Dhamma teacher. So that's Mahakotita. The Burmese call him Kotika. It's the same person. So we have these two. They're both arhats. They are talking to each other. It's like a talk show, in other words. Mahakotita is asking questions about the stages of sainthood and about in terms of the five aggregates. And the five aggregates are seen in the light of what are called the 11 aspects. Here the 11 aspects refer to actually the three characteristics, as we will presently see. Now, of course, an interesting question arises. We have two arhats talking to each other. The junior arhat, Mahakotita, asks the questions. But does this mean that Mahakotita doesn't know the answer? Not at all. They are both arhats, and they have understood the knowledge. They have the knowledge of liberation. Now, of course, according to the suttas, we do not know everything all the time. In the case of the arhats, whatever they want to know, they can know, especially in terms of the liberating knowledge. Of course, their knowledge is not as vast as the Buddha. The Buddha can, in a way, know anything he wants to, which are useful for us, to teach us. But in the case of the arhats, in the case of these two arhats, I can think of at least two important reasons why Mahakotita and Sariputta have a dialogue with each other, as recorded in the sutta. The first explanation I can think of is that being arhats, what else do arhats talk when they meet? They're not going to talk about worldly things. They're going to talk about the Dharma. Right? So when they get together, the junior man will ask the senior man something about the Buddha, about what they have realized. So here they talk about what are the qualities of the morally virtuous in terms of the aggregates, three characteristics, and so on. Secondly, we can see this dialogue as a way of teaching for our benefit. So here you have two great teachers talking to each other, questioning and answering each other, like a talk show, like a radio talk show, TV talk show. And here we have a record of this dialogue, which is useful to us as a teacher, right? So in other words, this you see these two great arahats, they're like master musicians. So they decided to get together and say, hey, why don't we play a duet, right? A musical duet, so to speak. So here they are creating beautiful Dharma music. So this is something we need to understand when we reflect on this sutta. And of course, this sutta is very helpful in telling us another aspect of the nature of awakening. Let us look at this sutta. The translation begins on page 64. The Aggregates Discourse on the Morally Virtuous, as 22.122. At one time, the Venerable Sariputta and the Venerable Mahakotthita were staying in a deer park near Isipatana outside Benares. Here again is that famous spot where the Buddha gave the first discourse to the 5 monks. Then in the evening, the Venerable Mahakotthita, having emerged from solitude, approached the Venerable Sariputta and said this to him. Right, so in the evening, it's probably here just after sunset. And that's the little earlier on, the monks, the Buddha and the monks would go into their own solitary practice, solitary retreat. So here, they just come out of that meditation, and there's a time where we'll sit down and have a peaceful chat with each other. So here we see the Buddha and the monks, early in the morning when the sun rises, as the sun is rising and when the sun is setting, they do their meditation, their personal practice. So here Mahakotthita begins the dialogue. He says, also Sariputta, what are the states that should be wisely attended to by a morally virtuous monk? What should a good man reflect on? Obviously there are many ways of answering this. So here we have one answer given by Sariputta for our benefit. So Sariputta replies, a morally virtuous monk, Avusokotthita, should wisely attend to the 5 aggregates as being impermanent, as suffering or unsatisfactory, as a disaster, as a tumor, as a dart, as a calamity, as an affliction, as alien, as breaking up, as void, as non-self. So here we have 11 qualities. So here Sariputta says a morally virtuous monk, a good monk, should reflect on the 5 aggregates in terms of these 11 qualities. Now these 11 qualities, they are aspects of the 3 universal characteristics: anicca, dukkha, anatta, impermanence, unsatisfactoriness, and non-self. Now the commentaries help us by telling us which qualities describe which characteristic. So here in the Samyutta commentary, PTS version is volume 2, page 334. We have this explanation. This is given in paragraph introduction 2.1.2, reflections on the 11 characteristics. So the qualities that describe or that give the attributes of impermanence are, of course, impermanence itself, and the word breaking up. Then the contemplation on suffering or the qualities of suffering, suffering, a disease, a tumor, a dart, a calamity, and affliction. Okay, we can also include alien here. Alien meaning something outside us. So in other words, these are the reflection that we call manasikara, right? So the first one is called anicca manasikara, the second one is called dukkha manasikara, and the third one is called anatta manasikara, contemplation or attending on or attending to non-self as void, non-self or alien. So alien seems to apply to the last two characteristics. So here we have a long list, 11, right? So of course, if you are a beginner, you can just select a few qualities that you are comfortable with, or you can remember, and you begin from there. It's not always people can remember all the 11 straight away. The easiest to remember, of course, is impermanent, suffering, non-self itself. It's the first, second, and the last quality. So this is how we manasikaroti, how we mindfully attend or reflect on the 5 aggregates. Now notice here again, we have 2 great arhats, right? So here again, the Sariputta again defines the 5 aggregates. Obviously, you and I know the 5 aggregates, and then we have this great arhat Mahakotita. Surely he knows the 5 aggregates too. So here Sariputta redefines the 5 aggregates for our benefit, for the benefit of future generations, for those who are new to the Dhamma, who will find such recitations helpful in helping them remember the teachings, in this case the 5 aggregates. So Sariputta continues and asks, what are the 5 aggregates? They are namely the aggregate of form that is clung to, the aggregate of feeling that is clung to, the aggregate of perception that is clung to, the aggregate of formations that are clung to, the aggregate of consciousness that is clung to. Right? So these are the aggregates of clinging, if you like. These are the aggregates that you and I, people who are not awakened, are comprised of. The arhats do have the aggregates, but there is no clinging to them. The Sariputta continues, a morally virtuous monk, avuso kotita, should wisely attend to these 5 aggregates as being impermanent, as suffering, or unsatisfactory, as a disease, as a tumor, as a dart, as a calamity, as an affliction, as alien, as breaking up, as void, as non-self. Let's just quickly see how we can apply these 11 qualities. Now notice although we have we can divide these 11 qualities into to specifically describe each of the 3 or specifically one of the 3 universal characteristics, we can in a sense apply all 11 to all these characteristics. We can apply to all the 5 aggregates also. We can regard form as impermanent, of course, right? So, and it's going to be quite a long list. You multiply 11 by 5, you get 55, right? 55 reflections, if you like. So you choose those that you like. Of course, if you go on to actually remember all the combinations and you mindfully recite, it's a very calming effect that you will get. You must do this in a ready and soothing and gradual and smooth process. So if you're not up to it, it's okay. Just take those aspects that you're comfortable with. So form, feeling, perception, formation, consciousness, each of them is impermanent. This is of course quite well known. And then next is their suffering. In what sense are they suffering? I mean, you see form. If something is beautiful, you like it, and then it goes away, and you don't feel happy, right? You feel troubled by it, you feel sad with it, and so on. And then, how are they a disease? How is form a disease? I mean, it's obvious, isn't it? I mean, we get sick, right? We get sick with the body, and then we also get sick in the mind through being upset, through being angry, having negative emotions. So that is a disease in that sense. The word disease originally meant dis-ease, a sense of lack of ease. Okay, something that makes us really uncomfortable, even painful. Then we have a tumor. Tumor again is a very painful growth, right? So form, feeling, perception, formation, consciousness, these things grow on us, and as a result of this growth, all kinds of negative fruits can arise. It's a dart, right? So dart hits us, we feel the pain. So again here, we have this famous analogy of the dart, right? So we have to understand there are two kinds of pain. One is bodily pain, the other is mental pain. So if we see form as impermanent, we know, wow, that's a dart. But we do not want to let the mind be troubled by this impermanence. How? By reflecting the impermanence as it is. And say, well, that's the way it is. Then we do not let the second dart hit us. Then it is a calamity, right? It's a disaster. Okay? So if we're not mindful in reflecting on the five aggregates of being impermanent, we are caught up with them, we will face all kinds of big trouble, calamity. As an affliction, something that hits us real hard, very painful. So in other words, suddenly we fall sick. It's the worst time possible. We tell ourselves, okay, I'm going to be healthy, I'm going to be doing something wonderful, but then the sickness just comes. So it afflicts us at the worst time. Alien. Something we sometimes feel as if we have no control of this body because it falls sick by itself, it changes, it decays and so on. So although we say this is, in the manner of speaking, we say this is my body, this is my hand, but we don't really have full control of them. In that sense, they are alien to us. And they're breaking up, right? So, I mean, our fingernails need to be trimmed, we break sweat and it dissipates. There are 9 openings in our body, out of which we lose all the impurities. In our bodies, in that sense, breaking up. Right? Our flakes, parts of our tiny bits of our body are falling off even right now. And later we vacuum the floor. And these five aggregates are void. They're empty of any essence. Right? They're changing and all the time, dynamic. The 4 elements interacting and so on. And of course, non-self. Right? You cannot point out to any of this and say that's the self. Right? They're all interconnected, they're all changing, they're all impermanent. So this is the reflection. Notice there's nothing technical here. They just kind of help us to look at these 5 aggregates in a way so that we're not attached to them in that sense. So this is the teaching passage, and then Sariputta goes on to say what are the benefits of this kind of practice, section 7. Also, when a morally virtuous monk wisely attends to these 5 aggregates as being impermanent, as suffering or unsatisfactory, as a disease, as a tumor, as a dart, as a calamity, as an affliction, as alien, as breaking up, as void, as not self, it is possible that he would realize the fruit of stream winning. Right? To become a stream winner. Here, because it's reflecting impermanence and only impermanence, but also on unsatisfactoriness and also non-self. Now notice here, the Sariputta is addressing a morally virtuous monk. We know very well in the suttas, the monks are the key members of the audience. So although the suttas are addressed to monks, in this case, in the suttas we can say it applies to anyone who is making an effort to practice the precepts. If you like, you can say, right now as you're reading the sutta, you qualify to be such a person. In spirit, you are doing what other monks would be doing and should be doing. So it refers to the practitioner, in other words. So if you practice impermanence, you don't need to be a monk. Even as a layperson, you can attain stream winning. Then, okay, so up to this point, we have Sariputta speaking, and then there's a question by Mahakotthita. So here Mahakotthita questions, says, but also Sariputta, what are the states that should be wisely attended to by a monk who is a stream winner? Right? So he kind of asks Sariputta to elaborate on the keyword which Sariputta has mentioned, the stream winning. Sariputta replies, says, Avuso Kotthita, these aggregates should be wisely attended to by a monk who is a stream winner. Right? So here we see a pattern. It actually is the same thing. The exact same thing, actually. The stream winner needs to continue reflecting on the 5 aggregates in its 11 aspects, as earlier. And if he does this, continues Sariputta, says, Avuso, when a monk who is a stream winner wisely attends to these 5 aggregates as being impermanent, as suffering or unsatisfactory, as a disease, as a tumor, as a dart, as a calamity, as an affliction, as alien, as breaking up, as a void, as non-self, it is possible that he would realize the fruit of one's return. Okay, so there you are. So this person reflects on this, the 5 aggregates as having the 3 characteristics. He becomes stream winner. The stream winner continues the reflection, and he goes on to become one's returner. So after this, we more or less know the drift of the Dharma, so to speak. But Mahakotthita goes on questioning to complete the teaching. Is okay, where Mahakotthita asks, but Avuso Sariputta, what are the states that should be wisely attended to by a monk who is a once returner? Right, so here same thing. Sariputta replies, Avuso, that these 5 aggregates should be wisely attended to by a monk who is a once returner too. And then this monk who does this, if he reflects the 5 aggregates in the 11 ways, he would realize the fruit of non-return. Right? So this practice brings the monk from one stage to the next, right? From stream winning to once return to non-return. And again, Mahakotthita asks Sariputta, but Avuso Sariputta, what are the states that should be wisely attended to by a monk who is a non-returner? So what should a non-returner do? So obviously you can see here, these 2 monks, they know their stuff, right? So they're just rehearsing. It's a kind of a catechetical class, a question and answer class. Avuso Kotthita, says Sariputta, these 5 aggregates should be wisely attended to by a monk who is a non-returner too. And then then Sariputta goes on to say, well, this non-returner reflects on the 5 decades in these 11 aspects. It is possible that he would realize the fruit of arahathood. Right? So here's a common teaching that progresses gradually, deepening. So here, in other words, the essence or the idea behind this teaching is that the Dharma is about the 5 decades, that they have 3 characteristics. So if we reflect in this way, deepening gradually into understanding this nature of this such a true reality, you will progress on the path towards nirvana, even attain arahathood itself. It's such a wonderfully simple, direct, and efficacious sutta. There's no big philosophy, no long names of meditation states, and so on. So, in other words, here it is real practice, very simple, very direct. So, if we really love the Dharma, if we really love to practice, this is more than enough. This is wonderful good Dharma. This is wonderful medicine. It's just like we have a headache. We take a Panadol or we rest ourselves, and the headache is gone. I remember as a kid, I read some of those mystery comic books, stories. I forget all the details, but the main details are very clear in my mind. There's a story about this person. He heard that some researchers have discovered an ancient formula for a kind of wonder medicine. This ancient formula was from some ancient Egyptian tomb, and he tried so hard to get this formula, and he had so much difficulties. The discoverers would not disclose this, would not even sell this. So in the end, the story when he even went into the trouble to murder and to commit crime to get this formula. And finally, he managed to decipher this formula, get all the ingredients together, and then mix it up, and then take it for himself. And he thought it was some magical, powerful elixir or some kind of panacea. He discovers nothing but what we today call Panadol. Okay, so it's something very simple, very popular medicine today for headache, for example. So here, in other words, we don't have to go way out to study all kinds of philosophies and mystical teachings and all kinds of elaborate rituals. The Dharma is simple if you really want to practice it. What is it that we are looking for in Buddhism? Here is the most basic, the most important, the most effective and efficacious teachings from the Buddha for us to practice and to be happy. Of course, here things take a turn. The Sariputta mentions arahathood. Okay, so here again, Mahakotita questions. This is his last question. But also Sariputta, what are the states that should be wisely attended to by a monk who is an arahat? Remember, Mahakotita himself is an arahat, but he asked this question: what should an arahat attend to? Then Sariputta replies, Avuso Kotita, these 5 aggregates should be wisely attended to by a monk who is an arahat. Okay, so even an arahat reflects on this 5 aggregates in these 11 aspects. Notice this, same practice, but there is a catch here. Section 19 says, but, Sariputta continues and says, but Avuso, the arahat has nothing further to be done or to repeat what has been done. This is very important, okay? The arahat has nothing further to do. He doesn't have to do it, but he does it. It's like a great musician. He memorized those great, wonderful, beautiful pieces. He can play them well. And occasionally he just plays it just to feel the music, just to be happy. He doesn't have to do that, but he does it. And he doesn't have to even learn the pieces again. He already knows them. So the Arahat is like that. So very, very important. We must remember this teaching. The Arahats do not need to become Buddhas. They do not need any further awakening. And this I must stress. Remember, there are people who have wrong views. They form their own ideas, and of course they label it Buddhist and say, oh, the Arahats are inferior, they need to awaken as Buddhas. There is no such teaching in the suttas at all. The Buddha did not teach these things. So these are wrong views, very serious wrong views, which we should correct whenever we have the chance to, and not to get lost with such ideas, because we will never awaken if we hold such views. The Arahats, like the Buddha, their fires are, oh, Buddha, they are cool, they Buddha, they are in Nirvana. So, and notice the last line, Buddha says, however, these states that are cultivated, grown, bring about happy dwelling right here and now, and mindfulness and clear comprehension. So in other words, the Arahats, when they practice this reflection on the five aggregates, they feel happy and they live comfortably. Okay? So this is how the saints remain happy in that sense. They are truly, their minds are truly clear of worldliness, and they are very happy. So remember this wonderful, simple teaching that's telling us who really are the Arahats and how we can attain the path ourselves. And now let us close with a short reflection. The Buddha's teaching in the suttas are clear and simple. All we need to do is study the suttas, practice them properly with the guide of a good, experienced and compassionate teacher. And when we do that, we find the answers are all there, like looking into true reality clearly and completely. And the suttas give us all that wonderful, complete teachings for us to awaken in this life itself. Reflecting in this way is wonderful good karma. By such good karma, may we be empowered to aspire to at least attain stream winning in this life itself. By the same token, by all the good deeds we have done, let us send out our loving kindness to all those who have been kind to us, for all those who have taught us the Dharma, and for all those seeking to awaken in the Dharma. May they be well, may they be happy, may they realize their goal in this life itself. By the same token, by the power of the three jewels, let us send out our loving kindness to all our loved ones, our friends and relatives. May they be well and happy too. May all beings around us to be well and happy, including those who are seeking the Dharma, those who have difficulty knowing the Dharma. May they see the Dharma in this life itself. May all beings be well and happy. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.